The stars were still burning when Captain Elias Trent opened his eyes. At first, he thought he was dreaming. The air was too soft, the sky too silver. His ship, the horizon's edge, lay broken behind him, half buried in pale dust. Flames flickered low, dying like candles in the wind. He tried to move, but his body refused. Every muscle screamed. His oxygen monitor blinked red, then faded out. The system was dead. So was he maybe, but then, a voice, soft, musical, not human. "Stay still. You are hurt." Through blurred eyes, Elias saw a figure kneeling beside him. A girl, or something like one. Her skin glowed faintly blue, her hair pale like ice. She pressed a warm hand against his chest. The pain eased as if drawn out of him. Who are you?" he whispered. The girl tilted her head, eyes shining like liquid silver. "You fell from the sky," she said. "You are not supposed to be here." Her English was strange, broken yet clear. Elias looked around. The landscape stretched endlessly, dunes of shimmering white sand scattered with black stones that hummed softly. No trees, no sky he recognized, just a horizon of mist. "How did you—" he began, but she shook her head. "Rest," she said. "You will live. For now." He lost consciousness again. When he woke, the light had changed. The girl sat a few meters away, quietly watching. She wasn't breathing, not in any human way. Her chest didn't rise or fall. "You saved me," Elias said softly. She looked down. "You should not have come." Elias tried to sit up. "My ship crashed. I didn't choose this." "You still came," she said. There was no anger in her voice and only sadness. She handed him a small flask made of smooth, glass-like material. Inside was clear water. He drank. It was cold and pure, sweeter than anything he'd ever tasted. "What's your name?" he asked. After a long pause, she replied, "Lyra." "Lyra," he repeated, testing the sound. "You speak English?" "Not your kind," she said. "But I remember." "Remember what?" Lyra didn't answer. Instead, she stood. The strange silver fabric of her dress moved like liquid light. She seemed both there and not there. A shimmer in the air. Elias felt a chill. "Where are the others?" he asked. "Your people?" She turned toward the horizon. "Gone, long ago," the wind whispered across the dunes. In it, Elias thought he heard distant voices, laughter, crying, maybe echoes. He shook his head. "This planet is supposed to be empty." "It is," Lyra said quietly. That answer stayed with him. Days passed, or what passed for days here. The light never truly changed, only softened and grew sharp again like a heartbeat. Lyra stayed near, silent most of the time. Elias managed to repair part of his comm system but couldn't get a signal. The planet's atmosphere seemed to eat the transmission. "What is this place?" he asked one night, staring into the mist. Lyra looked up at the stars. "A grave," she said simply. He didn't ask whose. Sometimes she would hum a song, and slow, almost human. It made the air tremble. When he asked where she learned it, she smiled faintly. "From your people," she said. "My people? Humans have never been here." Her silver eyes reflected his face. "Haven't they?" Elias felt something tighten in his chest. "Lyra, who are you really?" She stepped closer, kneeling beside him. Her expression softened, almost humanly gentle. "I am what you lost," she whispered. He stared, not understanding. Then she touched his hand, her skin warm like sunlight, and said quietly, "Please, don't lift my dress." Elias blinked. "What?" "Promise me," she said, her voice trembling now. "Never lift it. Never look beneath. If you do, you will break." Her eyes glistened, not with tears but with light. He nodded slowly, uncertain. "Okay, I won't." Lyra smiled faintly as if relieved. But there was sorrow in that smile. Deep, endless sorrow. That night, as Elias lay awake under the pale sky, he heard her humming again. Soft, sad, and in the rhythm of that alien song, he felt something stir, curiosity, fear, and a strange, impossible connection. He didn't yet know it, but that single promise would decide his fate. Captain Elias Trent spent the next few days repairing what little was left of his ship. The desert around him was silent, except for the faint hum that seemed to come from the ground itself. The sound never stopped. It was like the planet was alive, whispering under the surface. Lyra stayed close, watching him with calm, curious eyes. She didn't eat. She didn't sleep. Sometimes she would vanish for hours, fading into the mist, only to return as if nothing had happened. Elias had stopped asking where she went. Every time he tried, she only smiled and said, "You wouldn't want to follow me there." Still, he couldn't help feeling drawn to her. Not like a man drawn to a woman, but something deeper, stranger. It was as if her presence filled an emptiness inside him he hadn't known was there. One evening, while the pale sky glowed with a dim violet hue, Lyra brought him something. It was a small object, shaped like a cube, covered with faintly glowing lines. "What is this?" Elias asked. "Memory," she said. He turned it over in his hands. It was warm, pulsing faintly like a heartbeat. "Whose memory?" he asked. Lyra hesitated. "Yours," he frowned. "That's impossible. I've never been here before." She knelt beside him and placed her hand over the cube. A soft light spread out, wrapping them both in a faint shimmer. Images flickered in the air, his own memories. The academy, his crew, the laughter of his daughter years ago before she was taken by the sickness. Elias froze. How do you have this?" Lyra looked away. "This world remembers all who touch it, even those who never meant to." He stared at her. "You're saying this planet can read minds?" She shook her head slowly. "Not minds, hearts." That night, Elias couldn't sleep. Every time he closed his eyes, he saw flashes of those same memories. His daughter's smile. Her small hands reaching for him. The day he promised her he'd return. He hadn't kept that promise. When he opened his eyes again, Lyra was standing at the edge of the dunes, staring out at the endless white. Her hair glowed faintly in the dim light. "Lyra," he said softly, walking up behind her. "Why did you show me that?" "Because you needed to remember," she said. "You forgot who you were." "I didn't forget," he said, his voice tight. "I just moved on." She turned to him. "No, you buried it." Elias looked away. "You talk like you know me." Lyra stepped closer. "I do." He felt a shiver run through him. "You said you've never met a human before." "I haven't," she said. "But I was made to know you." Her words hung in the air, heavy and strange. Elias tried to laugh, but it came out hollow. "You're not making sense." Lyra only smiled, that sad, knowing smile that made him feel both comforted and afraid. Later, as they sat by the faint remains of his campfire, Elias noticed something strange. Lyra was watching the flames like someone seeing fire for the first time. Her reflection shimmered in the light, but the reflection wasn't quite her. It flickered, shifting shape for a moment, showing someone else. A human woman. Elias blinked. "Lyra, what was that?" She said nothing. "Lyra?" Finally, she whispered. "This form is not mine." He frowned. "Then whose is it?" She hesitated. "Someone you once loved." The air went cold. "What do you mean?" Elias asked, his voice trembling. Lyra looked at him with those silver eyes that seemed to hold entire galaxies. "The planet remembers emotion, Captain. Pain, love, loss. It takes what is strongest and gives it form. When you fell here, it reached into you, and it made me." Elias felt his heart pound in his chest. "You're saying, you're made from me?" "From your memory," she said softly. "From what you could not let go." He shook his head, backing away slightly. "That's impossible." "Is it?" she asked. "You believe in faster-than-light travel, but not in memory that breathes?" He didn't answer. The cube she had given him still pulsed faintly beside the fire, glowing in rhythm with his heartbeat. Lyra stood, her dress glimmering like liquid moonlight. "There are things you shouldn't see, Elias," she said. "Truths that look back when you stare too long. You humans always want to lift the veil, but sometimes the veil is mercy." She paused, then added in a whisper, "Please, don't lift my dress." Her words struck him again, and that same plea, fragile and desperate. He looked at her, trying to understand, but her eyes were full of something that scared him. Not fear of him, but fear for him. That night the whispers came. At first, they were faint, like the wind moving through glass. Then they grew louder. Elias sat up, scanning the dunes. There was nothing there, but the whispers sounded human. They were calling his name. "Elias. Elias?" He turned to Lyra. She was gone. Panic rose in his chest. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped out into the mist. The whispers surrounded him now, voices overlapping, pleading, crying. Then he saw her, standing by a pool of glowing light that shimmered on the sand. She was barefoot, her silver dress rippling around her like water. She looked frightened. "Lyra!" he called out. She turned to him, her expression full of sorrow. You shouldn't be here. What's happening? He asked. The planet is remembering too much, she said softly. It's waking up. And then the ground beneath them began to hum louder, as if something vast and ancient was stirring below the surface. Elias stared into the glowing pool and saw faces. Human faces, hundreds of them shifting in the light, all whispering his name. Lyra grabbed his hand. Don't look, she cried, but he already had. And, don't look, she cried, but he already had. And what he saw in that light, he would never be able to forget. The faces in the glowing pool faded, one by one, melting back into the silver light. Elias fell to his knees, gasping. His heart pounded as if it would tear through his chest. The whispers stopped all at once. The silence that followed was almost worse. Lyra stood beside him, her silver eyes wide with pain. You looked, she said softly. You shouldn't have looked. Elias could barely speak. They were human. I saw people. They were memories, Lyra said, her voice trembling. Echoes of those who came before. Their minds still live in the sand, in the light, in me. He shook his head. That's not possible. There haven't been any human missions to this sector. I would know. Lyra turned away. You humans forget what you lose. Her words sent a chill through him. What does that mean? What are you hiding from me? She didn't answer. Instead, she stepped into the light and the pool shimmered around her feet. The reflection below her rippled, showing faces again, but this time Elias saw himself among them. He stumbled back, terrified. Why am I in there? Lyra looked at him sadly. Because you're already part of this place. The moment you fell, the world began to take you in. Elias backed away. No, I'm still alive. I can leave. She shook her head slowly. You can leave with your body. But your heart? She placed a hand over his chest. Your heart is already here. For the first time, Elias noticed something strange about the air. It shimmered faintly when he breathed. Tiny silver motes floated everywhere, glowing softly before fading. What is this? He asked. The breath, Lyra said. The memory of the planet. It watches. It listens. It learns. Elias brushed the glowing dust from his sleeve. You talk about it like it's alive. It is, she said quietly. Alive and lonely. Her gaze drifted toward the horizon, where pale towers of mist rose like ghosts. It remembers everything that touches it. Every thought. Every feeling. It keeps them because it cannot forget. He frowned. So this world is built from memories. Yes, she whispered. Yours, mine, the ones before us. Elias shuddered. Then the people I saw in the pool, they're trapped? Lyra didn't reply. He grabbed her arm. Lyra, are they trapped? She looked at him then, tears of light forming in her eyes. They are remembered, she said softly. And that is worse. They walked back toward the wreck together, the silence between them heavy. Elias's mind raced with questions he didn't want answers to. When they reached the remains of his ship, Lyra stopped at the door. Elias, she said quietly, promise me something. What now? He asked, exhausted. When the mist comes, she said, don't follow the voices. No matter what you hear. Promise me, he frowned. Well, what voices? You'll know, she said. They will sound like people you love. But they're not. Her expression was full of fear, not for herself, but for him. The planet doesn't want to hurt you, she whispered. It only wants to remember. But to remember it must take. Elias stared at her, his throat dry. Take what? Everything, she said. That night, he dreamed. He was back on Earth, sitting by the lake where he used to take his daughter. The water was calm. She sat beside him, small and bright-eyed, drawing shapes in the dirt with a stick. Daddy, she said softly. Why did you go away? He turned to her and froze. Her eyes were silver. Elias woke with a shout. The campfire was out. The mist had thickened, curling around him like fog made of light. Lyra, he called. No answer. He grabbed his flashlight and stepped into the mist. The air felt heavy, humming with invisible energy. And then he heard it, a voice soft and familiar. Elias, and he turned. His heart stopped. A woman stood just ahead of him, her back turned. Her hair was the same golden brown as his late wife's. Her voice, exactly the same. Elias, she whispered again. You left me. Come home. He stumbled forward before he could stop himself. Claire? Her figure shimmered, half real, half smoke. When she turned, her face changed, not quite right, as if made from pieces of memory. "Claire!" He shouted, reaching for her. "Elias!" A hand grabbed his wrist and Lyra's hand. She pulled him back with surprising strength. "Don't!" she cried. "It's not her." He turned, shaking. "I saw her. She was right there." "It's not her." Lyra's voice broke with fear. "It's the world remembering your pain. It feeds on it." The mist swirled violently, the faces within it twisting and screaming. Elias covered his ears. "Make it stop." "I can't," Lyra shouted. "You look too long." Suddenly everything went still. The mist parted and the glowing dunes were silent again. Elias collapsed to his knees, shaking. Lyra knelt beside him, her touch gentle but cold. "You see now?" she whispered. "This place remembers everything you try to forget. It shows it to you until you break." Elias looked at her, fear in his eyes. "Why are you helping me?" Lyra hesitated. "Because you made me," she said softly. "And because I don't want to lose you again," he frowned. "Again?" But she didn't answer. She stood, the light around her flickering. "The planet is waking faster now," she said. "You must leave before it's too late." "I can't leave," Elias said. "The ship is ruined. The comms are dead." Lyra looked up at the silver sky. "Then we'll find another way." For the first time, he saw something like determination in her face. And something else. Throsir, as they walked into the mist together, Elias couldn't shake her words from his mind. "The planet doesn't want to hurt you. It only wants to remember." But deep inside, he already felt it, a pull, soft but steady, like invisible threads wrapping around his heart. The planet was remembering him, and soon, he feared it wouldn't let go. They walked for hours through the silver mist. The dunes seemed endless, but Lyra moved as if she knew exactly where to go. Elias followed, weak but determined. Every step felt heavier, like the planet was quietly holding him back. "Where are we going?" he asked finally. "To the old place," Lyra said, "where the first memories were kept." "The first memories?" Elias frowned. "You mean people?" She didn't answer. The wind whispered softly around them. Sometimes it carried voices, faint, half-formed. Elias could almost hear words. "Help us. Remember us. Stay with us." He tried to ignore them, but they clung to his mind like echoes that refused to fade. After some time, the ground began to change. The smooth dunes gave way to black stone, broken and cracked as if burned. Strange shapes jutted from the earth, pieces of metal, glass, and bone-white structures that shimmered in the weak light. Elias stopped, staring. These are ruins," Lyra nodded. "Yes, the ones before you built this place." He ran a hand over a metal fragment, brushing away dust. His breath caught when he saw faint letters carved into the surface. UNS Aurora, Exploratory Division. His heart froze. "That's impossible," he whispered. "This was a human ship. The Aurora disappeared over 100 years ago." Lyra stood quietly beside him. "They found this world before your time," she said. "They called it home. The planet called them memory." Elias felt a wave of dizziness. "You mean they died here?" "They became part of it," Lyra said softly. "They never left. They moved deeper into the ruins." The remains of buildings stood like skeletons covered in glowing dust. Every surface seemed to hum faintly, a low vibration that Elias could feel in his bones. He saw shapes carved into the walls, not alien symbols, but human writing. Names, dates, messages scratched in desperation. "Help us. The world speaks. Don't listen to the voices." Elias touched the wall, his fingers trembling. "My God, and they were trying to warn us." Lyra lowered her head. "They tried to forget, but the planet would not let them." He turned to her sharply. "You said this place remembers. How? How can a planet remember anything?" Lyra met his eyes. "Because it was made to." Elias frowned. "Made? By who?" "The ones who built it," she said. "Your kind." He blinked, confused. "Humans built this world?" "That's not possible." "It was not a world at first," Lyra said. "It was a living archive, a place to store what humans feared to lose. Memories, emotions, minds. They made the planet think. But they forgot that thoughts can feel." Elias stared at her, speechless. Lyra walked to the center of the ruins where a tall pillar rose from the ground. Symbols glowed faintly across its surface. She placed her hand on it. "This is where it began," she said. "The core remembers everything. The pillar lit up beneath her touch, and suddenly the air filled with light, swirling images all around them. People laughing, crying, fighting, dying. Voices overlapped, whispering fragments of memory. Elias stepped back, eyes wide. It's showing human history. No, Lyra said quietly. It's showing you. He froze. The faces in the light shifted. His face appeared among them. Younger, smiling, holding his daughter in his arms. The images flickered. His wife, his home, the day he left Earth. Elias trembled. Why are you showing me this? I'm not, Lyra said. The planet is. The images darkened. He saw war, fire, the faces of people he'd lost. The day he gave the order that cost his crew their lives. Every mistake, every regret, all of it laid bare. Elias fell to his knees. Stop, please! Lyra knelt beside him, touching his shoulder. It's trying to understand you. To keep you. Every memory makes it stronger. Stronger for what? He shouted. To become you, she said softly. Stronger. Stronger for what? He shouted. To become you, she said softly. The light faded. Elias sat in the dust, shaking. His voice was barely a whisper. You said the Aurora crew became part of this world. Is that what's happening to me? Lyra's silence was the answer. He stood, anger rising through his fear. Then you brought me here on purpose. No, she said quickly. I brought you to show you the truth. To give you a chance to leave before it takes all of you. He stared at her. Why do you care? You're part of it, aren't you? She hesitated. Yes, but not completely. You gave me something the others didn't have. What? A choice, Elias frowned. What do you mean I gave you a choice? Lyra looked at him sadly. You created me from your memories, from your sorrow, but you also gave me your hope. That's why I can fight it. My memories created you, he asked. Yes, she whispered. You shaped me when you fell here. I'm what your heart remembered when it broke. He stepped back, shaking his head. That's not possible. Lyra smiled faintly. You humans always say that. Until you see. They stood in silence for a long time. The ruins glowed softly, pulsing like a heartbeat. Somewhere deep below, the planet seemed to breathe. Elias looked at Lyra. You said I could still leave. How? She turned toward the glowing pillar. The core keeps all memories. If you destroy it, you'll break the link. You'll forget this place. The planet will forget you. He stared at her. And you? Her voice was quiet. If the planet forgets you, it forgets me too. Elias felt something twist inside him. You'd vanish, Lyra smiled sadly. I was never meant to exist. Maybe it's time to stop remembering. He shook his head. There has to be another way. She looked away. There isn't. Not for both of us. As the mist began to thicken again, Elias made a silent vow. He would not leave her behind. He didn't yet know how. But he couldn't let her fade. Somewhere deep within the glowing ruins, a low rumble echoed, a sound like a heartbeat beneath the ground. The world was awake now, and it was remembering everything. The planet didn't sleep anymore. Elias could feel it. A soft vibration in the ground, like a heartbeat under the soil. The air shimmered with light, whispering voices that faded as soon as he tried to listen. Every shadow seemed alive now, filled with memories too heavy for one mind to hold. Lyra grew quieter with each passing hour. Her glow dimmed. Sometimes her voice broke mid-sentence as if the world itself was pulling her away. Lyra, Elias said one evening as they rested beside the broken pillar. What's happening to you? She smiled faintly. The planet is remembering too much, she said softly. It's taking me back. I won't let that happen, he said. You can't stop it, she whispered. Not unless you forget me. Elias stared at her. I don't want to forget you. Lyra looked away, the faint silver of her eyes trembling with light. Then you'll stay here with me, and the world will never let you go. Her words scared him more than death itself. He had faced storms, war, vacuum, and loss, but never the thought of losing his own mind to a memory. That night, he dreamed again. This time, he was walking through his ship's hallway, the horizon's edge whole and bright as before. The lights flickered. Voices echoed, his crew laughing, talking, alive. He smiled. Until he turned the corner. They were all standing there, every crew member motionless, their eyes silver like Lyra's. Captain, one of them said softly, you left us behind. He woke up gasping, his heart hammering. Lyra was sitting nearby, watching him. "It's getting stronger," she said. He looked at her. "Lyra, if this planet is made from memories, then what's under your dress?" "What are you hiding from me?" She froze, her face suddenly pale. "You promised," she said quietly. "I know what I promised," he said, his voice shaking. "But I need to understand. You said the planet is remembering too much. Maybe if I see, I can help." Lyra stood up slowly. Her eyes filled with something like pain and fear. "Elias, you don't understand. If you see, you won't come back. You'll break like the others did." He took a step closer. "Please, Lyra, I need to know." "No," she said firmly this time, her voice echoing like two voices speaking at once. Hers and something older, deeper. "Don't ask again." But Elias couldn't stop now. The curiosity that had driven him across galaxies, the need to know, to see him, it burned too strong. He reached out and caught her hand. "Lyra, what are you?" She pulled away, trembling. "I am what you remember," she whispered. "I am what you forgot. Don't make me show you what's underneath, please." He hesitated, but only for a moment. Then he did the one thing she begged him never to do. Elias lifted the edge of her silver dress. The fabric moved like liquid light, warm against his hand, and what he saw beneath it wasn't flesh. It wasn't even real. There were no legs. There were roots. Glowing threads of light, spreading from her body into the ground, pulsing like living veins. They sank deep into the soil, connecting her to the planet itself. Within those roots, faces moved, human faces, crying, whispering, reaching. His own face was there. He stumbled back, horrified. What is this?" Lyra fell to her knees, clutching the fabric, her voice breaking. "You looked," she whispered. "Why did you look?" The ground shuddered beneath them. The hum grew into a roar. The air turned heavy, bright, alive. Elias's mind filled with images, thousands of memories not his own. Liv's death's dreams, the screams of people who had once been human. The pain of every explorer who had ever landed here and never left. He saw their final moments, when the planet absorbed them, copying their thoughts, their feelings, turning them into living memories that never faded. Lyra screamed, the sound echoing across the dunes. Her body flickered, breaking into light and shadow. "You've woken it," she cried. "Now it sees you fully." The ground split open beside them, glowing veins spreading across the sand. Faces rose from the light, not physical but made of memory. They whispered Elias's name, calling him to join them. He clutched his head, trying to block them out. "Lyra, make it stop!" "I can't," she cried. "You saw what you shouldn't have. Now it knows you completely." Elias looked at her through tears. "What are you, Lyra?" She looked at him, broken and glowing. "I was meant to be a guide," she said softly, "to help humans leave their pain behind. But when you made me, when you remembered me, I became more. I became your guilt." "My guilt?" "Yes," she said. "I am what you carry. Your failure, your loss. The planet gave me form so you could face what you buried." Elias sank to his knees, shaking. "I didn't mean to hurt you," Lyra smiled sadly. "You didn't, you only remembered." The light around them flared, blinding and beautiful. Elias could hear his heartbeat blending with the hum of the planet. The air shimmered with the sound of voices, millions of them, laughing, crying, whispering his name. Lyra touched his face, her hand trembling. "Elias," she said softly, "the more you remember, the more you fade. You must forget me, forget this world." He looked into her eyes, silver oceans full of sorrow. "If I forget you, what happens to you?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Then I'll be free." Tears ran down his cheeks. "I can't." "You must," she said, "because now the planet remembers too much, and it's starting to become you." The ground pulsed again, bright veins spreading farther across the horizon. The dunes shifted, whispering his name in thousands of voices. Lyra took his hand one last time. "You lifted the dress," she said gently, "and now you see what lies beneath everything." She smiled, not in anger, not in pain, but in peace. "Now it's time to choose what you want to remember." Elias looked at the horizon. The sky burned silver. The air hummed with memory. And for the first time, he truly understood what it meant to break. The silver light faded, leaving behind a dim, trembling glow that pulsed through the ground like blood through a vein. Elias lay on the sand, his breath shallow, his mind spinning. All around him the dunes whispered with faint voices, thousands of them, murmuring memories that weren't his own. Every breath carried emotion, grief, longing, love, despair. He felt them all. Lyra knelt beside him, her form flickering like static. Her edges blurred, fading in and out as if she were fighting to stay real. "Lyra," Elias whispered. "What's happening to me?" "You're becoming part of it," she said softly. "The planet is merging with your memories. It's learning you. Feeling you." He tried to sit up, his head pounding. "Why? Why does it want me?" Lyra looked away, her silver eyes reflecting the sky. "Because that's what it was made to do. It remembers everything it touches, every thought, every soul, and keeps them forever. It believes remembering is love." "Love?" Elias breathed. "This isn't love, it's—" "Prison." Lyra's eyes softened. "To humans, maybe, but to the planet, forgetting is death. It keeps everything alive by never letting go." He clenched his fists. "And what about you? You said I made you— how?" She hesitated, the wind tugging at her glowing dress. "When you crashed here, the world reached into your memories to heal you. It searched for the strongest emotion it could find, something pure enough to keep you alive." "What did it find?" he asked. Lyra looked at him sadly. "It found me," Elias frowned. "You weren't real before I came?" "It found me," Elias frowned. "You weren't real before I came?" "I was a fragment," she said, a voice without form. "But your heart gave me shape. You remembered the pain of losing your daughter, your guilt for those who died under your command, your need to protect something innocent, and the planet used all of that to make me." Her voice trembled. "I was born from your memory, your sorrow and your love mixed together." Elias's chest tightened. "That's why you looked familiar," he whispered. "You have her face." "My little girl's eyes." Lyra nodded slowly. "I am her in part, but I'm also everything else you tried to forget." The silence stretched between them. The mist around them shimmered softly, and faint echoes of laughter floated through the air. Children's voices, distant and fragile. Elias pressed his hands to his head. "If this planet can make life from memory, then it's not a world. It's a reflection, a mirror." Lyra nodded. "Yes, but the mirror is breaking. Too many memories, too much pain. It doesn't know what's real anymore." He looked around, the dunes shifting, faces forming in the sand, flickering like ghosts. "So this planet, it's dying?" "It's drowning," Lyra said. "In remembrance." She reached out, her hand barely solid now. "You can stop it, Elias. You can help it forget." He looked at her in confusion. "How?" "There's a way," she said. "If you reach the core, you can erase the pattern of yourself from its memory. The connection will break. You'll be free. And you?" Lyra smiled sadly. "If you erase yourself, the part of me that came from you will fade too. But the planet will sleep again. It will stop hurting." Elias shook his head, tears in his eyes. "No, there has to be another way." "There isn't," she whispered. "This is what the others refused to do. That's why they're still here, their echoes trapped forever." He stared at her, trembling. "You mean those faces I saw, the people in the light? They were souls that couldn't let go?" Lyra nodded. "They chose to be remembered, and now they can never die." A low rumble shook the ground. The dunes shifted violently, splitting open into glowing cracks. Silver light poured out, rising into the sky like lightning. Lyra's form flickered again. "It's starting," she said. "The planet is losing control." Elias looked toward the horizon. Towers of light rose from the ground, each one pulsing like a heartbeat. Inside them, human figures moved. The lost explorers. The Aurora crew, his own reflections, went all crying out to him. He felt a pull in his chest, strong and relentless, like invisible hands dragging him toward the light. "Elias," Lyra called, gripping his arm. "Don't listen to them. They're not you anymore." He fell to his knees, the voices filling his head. His wife's laughter, his daughter's cries, his crew's final screams, they overlapped. Became one voice and his own. "Stay. Elias. Remember. You don't have to lose her again." He screamed, pressing his hands over his ears. "Stop it." Lyra knelt before him, her voice calm but full of sorrow. "It's not real anymore. It's only what you wish had been." He looked up at her, tears streaking his face. "If I let go, I lose everything I have left." She smiled gently, though her form was fading fast. "No. If you let go, you find what's still ahead." The light flared brighter and the ground trembled again. A massive structure rose from the center of the ruins, a sphere of silver light spinning slowly. Inside it, shapes moved, memories, dreams, fragments of human history. "The core," Lyra said. "It's awake." Elias staggered to his feet. "If I destroy it, we're both gone." "Yes," she said softly. "But you'll free the world from remembering." He looked into her eyes, his daughter's eyes, his guilt, his grief, all mixed into one impossible being. "I don't want to forget you," he whispered. Lyra stepped close, placing her hand on his chest. "You won't. The heart remembers what the mind cannot." The wind roared around them, scattering glowing sand into the sky. Lyra's form was almost gone now, her body dissolving into streams of light. "Elias," she said gently, "when the time comes, choose peace over memory." He wanted to speak, to tell her he couldn't do it, but the planet's voice drowned his thoughts. It was calling him by name, softly, lovingly. He looked toward the core, its glow pulsing like a star about to die. He knew what he had to do, but he didn't know if he had the strength to do it. The light surrounded them both, warm and sorrowful. Lyra smiled one last time, whispering something he could barely hear. "Remember me only as hope." Then she was gone, and Elias was alone with the planet that refused to forget. The core pulsed like a heart made of stars. Its light filled the ruins, silver and alive, spilling across the dunes in waves that shimmered like oceans of memory. Every pulse carried a whisper, fragments of laughter, grief, and endless longing. Elias stood at the edge of it all, staring into the brilliance. The world wasn't just awake now, it was aware. It had seen his memories, his pain, his love, and it wanted to keep him. He could feel the pull deep inside his chest, gentle but powerful, like gravity made of emotion. The planet was calling to him, light softly, kindly, like a mother whispering to her child. "Stay," the voices said. "We remember you. We love you. You never have to be alone again." Elias fell to his knees, clutching his head. The light pressed against his mind like 1,000 hands. He saw visions, Lyra smiling, his daughter running through fields of silver grass, his wife's face turning toward him, eyes bright and alive. It all felt real. He reached out, then stopped. Something inside him whispered, "This isn't them." The air shimmered beside him. Out of the light, a familiar shape formed. Lyra. Her body was faint now, transparent, her dress glowing like soft moonlight. She knelt beside him, her touch a cool breeze on his cheek. "Elias," she said quietly, "you don't have much time." He looked at her, his voice breaking. "I thought you were gone." "I am," she said gently. "But a memory can linger for a little while." He stared at the core, tears stinging his eyes. "It wants me to stay." "I know," she said. "It doesn't understand that remembering too much can destroy." He shook his head, his voice trembling. "If I erase myself, you'll disappear too. Everything we shared will become peace," she said softly. "Not pain," he looked down. "You're asking me to kill the only thing that still remembers who I am." "No," Lyra whispered. "I'm asking you to forgive yourself. That's all this world ever wanted, and to feel what humans feel. But it only learned your sorrow. You can teach it to let go." The ground began to quake. The core flared brighter, shooting silver lightning into the sky. The faces of the lost appeared in the air. Explorers, soldiers, dreamers, all calling his name, begging him to remember them. "Elias," they cried. "Don't leave us. Stay with us. We need you." Lyra clutched his hand. "Don't listen. They're only echoes. They don't know they're gone." He looked into her eyes, the same eyes that had once belonged to his daughter, now full of ancient sadness. "How do I do it?" She smiled weakly. "Touch the core. Think of everything you want to forget. Then forgive it." He swallowed hard. "And if I can't?" "Then you'll stay here," she said. "Forever." Another memory in the sand. Elias turned toward the core. Its light was blinding now, humming like a storm. He stepped forward, each step heavier than the last. The whispers grew louder, warmer, almost comforting. "Stay, Elias," they said. "There's no pain here. Only memory." He hesitated. He thought of his daughter, her laughter, her small hands reaching for him. He thought of his wife, the way she smiled when he came home. He thought of Lyra, the strange, beautiful being born from his own grief and love. And then, he thought of the promise she made him make. Please, don't lift my dress. It wasn't just a plea to obey. It was a warning, a lesson about boundaries, about the things we aren't meant to uncover just to ease our guilt. He had broken that promise once. He wouldn't break this one. He closed his eyes. I forgive myself, he whispered, and I let you go. He reached out and touched the core. A shock of warmth rushed through him. Not pain, not fear, just light. The whispers turned into music, a sound that felt like love itself. He saw Lyra one last time, smiling as she began to dissolve into silver dust. Thank you, she said softly. Now we can rest. Her light scattered into the air, joining the countless others rising toward the sky. The ground stopped shaking. The world grew quiet. Elias felt something deep inside him loosen, a knot he had carried for years. His guilt, his sorrow, his endless need to remember, all of it faded into stillness. For the first time he felt peace. When the light dimmed, the ruins were silent. The core was gone. The dunes shimmered faintly, calm and still, no longer whispering. Elias stood alone, breathing slowly. The world looked the same, but the feeling had changed. It was no longer a place of grief. It was just quiet. He looked up at the pale sky. Lyra, he whispered, are you still there? The wind moved gently, carrying a faint sound and a song. Our song? He smiled through his tears. Goodbye. Then he turned toward the horizon. Walking across the silent dunes behind him, the planet slept, finally at peace. Years later, long after his rescue, the black box of the horizon's edge was recovered. The final log inside contained only a single sentence recorded in a trembling voice. Please, don't lift my dress, then silence, and for those who heard it, none ever forgot. Those who heard it, none ever forgot.